Hey everybody, it's me Mark here at the nursing home for Vlog Every Day in April. I've been talking an awful lot about myself lately and just wrapping up in my own world. I thought I'd try to expand to the outer world of the world and talk about some other things that might be interesting to other people. So here are my top 3 big ideas.
Mark vlogs every day in April.
These are things I've heard on TED Talks or elsewhere on the internet or NPR that were such interesting stories, they blew my mind. I'm going to send you a link to get you there so that you can find out about them yourself. Okay, body language. Watch this TED Talk. It's about body language and how you can trick your emotions into having the right body language. You know how body language works. When you're happy, you sit up and you behave in a certain way and you're open. And when you're scared and you're weak, you kind of crunch up and your body does something different, you know? So your body tells the outside world who you are and what to expect from you, you know. Now, it turns out you can fake it till you make it. It absolutely works. Your brain is sort of wired both ways. So if you stand in a powerful position, your brain feels powerful. And if you make a happy face, your brain gets happier. And I mean, it doesn't cure the underlying problems you might have, but it works. They did an experiment where they took a whole bunch of college students and sent them on a job interview. And half of them, they had sit with their legs crossed and their hands on their neck and all small and crumpled up, like a sad, scared person. The other half, they had stand up with their feet apart and their hands on their hips like Wonder Woman with their chests out and just stand there for 2 minutes. No further coaching, didn't tell them to be confident, didn't tell them anything besides just stand there in this pose. Now, the 10 people who went in after the Wonder Woman pose, the people loved them, wanted to hire them, thought they were great. The 10 people who went in with the shrimpy, sad pose, nobody liked them. They didn't get the job. They were losers. Now, these are randomly chosen people. They didn't just pick the losers and have them do the loser pose. It was the body language that programmed their brains to behave in a certain way and present themselves that way. Isn't that amazing? It was just the forced pose. They just stood in for just 2 minutes that set their brains up to have them be confident and be interesting. And I think that's fascinating. And that's a tool, that's a life hack that you could use today. Okay, here's another one. Global warming, right? The Earth's getting hotter, the climate's changing. It's partly because of greenhouse gases and emissions from cars and carbon dioxide and burning all the carbon. But this is not about the politics of that. Another big thing about global warming, it's partly a result and partly a cause, is desertification, where lands that are formerly kind of productive grasslands with lush stuff growing on them are turning into just hard, bare dirt. And that dirt just reflects sunlight and it just gets hot and nothing grows there. The water just runs off of it and the land becomes like gross and terrible. This other TED Talk by this South African dude who's been studying this for like 50 years. The old school of thought was this is from overgrazing. This is from large grazing animals eating all the foliage and moving on, leaving nothing left to hold on to the moisture, right? Because there's certain parts of the world, like rainforests or places, where the humidity will stick around, okay? Enough that it stays lush close to the ground, so stuff stays sort of alive and liquid down there. But when it's a desert, the humidity is gone. There's no plant matter to hold on to it. And the thinking back then was if elephants or cows or whatever eat all that stuff and move on, it's gone and you're screwed. And back in the day, this guy, culled lots of elephants. It's a tragic number of elephants trying to do this in Africa. And it didn't work, trying to stop the grazing. But it turns out the way pack animals operate naturally in nature, like a herd of wildebeests, right? With predators all around them. They bundle up together in a tight lump of animals to protect each other, right? So only the ones on the fringe are in danger. And they eat the grass they're standing on, but because they're peeing on it and pooping on it, they got to kind of move on and eat some other grass pretty soon because it gets kind of gross. So they eat the grass, leave a little bit behind, trample it, poop on it, and move on. And so what they leave behind is a perfectly fertile thing that kind of grows back. So what this guy's figured out is a way to herd goats or cows or buffaloes or whatever by keeping them tight and moving them at a certain interval over almost bare ground with almost no foliage at all. And what they leave behind is this poop and bits of grass and seeds and stuff that produce fertile grassland. And it's just like a miracle, because you think, oh, everyone before said, oh, it's cattle that are ruining the world. Oh, it's clear cutting and cattle that are destroying the atmosphere. But no, if you can actually use the cattle in the same way, intelligently, to actually take bare desert and bring it back into lush grasslands. And that's totally amazing to me. And I love this idea because it's productive. It like breeds animals, which is good for industry, good for people, and you can eat them and you can raise them and feed people with them. Feed people and fix the earth at the same time. It's a bloody win-win idea, and I just love it. It makes me optimistic about the future. So check out that TED Talk too. Okay, now this is a fascinating story I heard on Radiolab, one of my favorite things that's on public radio. It's not a TED Talk. It's something completely different. Radiolab is kind of like This American Life, except not depressing and kind of about science all the time, but mostly about human beings. Anyway, there's a story about this guy who had horrible allergies his whole life, just miserable, allergic to everything, and just was sick of it, and wanted to really just once and for all cure his allergies. And he did a lot of research online and discovered that in the developing world, like Africa and places like that, there were no allergies. Nobody had allergies. But I remember when I was a kid, nobody had any allergies. It's just sort of lately we have these allergies. Anyway, he did more research and figured it was because of hookworm. Now, hookworms are this parasite that is transferred through poop. People with hookworm in their gut are lethargic and slow and kind of dull, and that was a problem during Reconstruction they discovered in the South. And the way hookworms breed is they live in your gut and they come out in your poop, and they crawl out of your poop and they walk about 6 feet and then they die. And back in the 1800s, people just sort of went outdoors and pooped, and a lot of people some people were barefoot and they'd step in where somebody else pooped, and next thing you know, you got hookworms. They burrow up through the bottoms of your feet. It's gross, right? I know. And live in your gut, you poop them out to somebody else, and the cycle of life continues. That's why after the Civil War, during Reconstruction, they figured out how to build latrines and dig outhouses 6 feet deep. Then the hookworms can't get out of the hole, and no more hookworm. Now, anyway, cut to present day. Now we have hand sanitizers and very clean environments and almost no parasites at all, but we're all full of allergies. So the theory was that it's the hookworm. It's having something for your body to fight that kind of keeps you from having allergies. Or rather, it's the allergies that come up when your immune system has nothing left to fight. It's like a bully on the street corner. It's going to punch somebody eventually. So this guy went to Africa and walked around barefoot in their latrines. Like, they didn't have outhouses. They were still pooping outside under a tree somewhere. And he'd go out to the area and kind of walk around on the ground barefoot until he contracted hookworm. And he came back to America and was never allergic again. It completely worked. He cured his allergies by stepping in shit and getting hookworm. So he said, well, this is brilliant. So he started like a business where he harvested his own hookworms out of his poo, sterilized them, and he would sell them to people on the internet. And apparently he cured like 80 or 90 people of allergies by infecting them with hookworm. And they did research, like if you have 5, you feel fine. If you have 10, you feel fine. If you have like 50, you start to feel kind of sick. So they kind of fine-tuned it. And this guy was wondering why the world wasn't beating a path to his door, because he'd kind of invented this cure for this huge problem that people have. And then they played that story on the radio, and the next day the FDA came and knocked on his door and said, dude, you can't sell hookworms on the internet. You can't do this. And they confiscated his stuff. And the next day he moved to Mexico and stopped doing it. I don't know if he's still secretly got an underground hookworm facility, but isn't that fascinating that all these allergies that we have all these problems with could be a product of modern life, It's probably better to not have hookworms, but, why not embrace a little bit of the past to try to make the future better? Anyway, I hope you enjoy these links. Please like and subscribe and all that jazz. Leave me a comment and tell you what you think, and tell me what else you might like me to talk about. Thanks for watching.